All
Boom,
right.
boom, boom.
We are live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Millionaire the Moon live stream. We have a very special guest with us. We have Crypto Coffee. What's up, man? How you doing?
Yes, sir.
How's it going, guys? Good to be here. Real excited for
Thank
this
you,
one.
man. Thank you for coming on the show, man. We ran a poll. Obviously, people know we ran a poll. Not a poll, actually. We just asked who's your best hex streamer or, the ecosystem. The Richard Hart ecosystem streamer. And, and you're the main one, man. Everyone's just tagging you. It was pretty obvious. You're the most favorite streamer within the community. So yeah, man, thank you for taking the time to come on the channel, and thank you for sharing your thoughts, I guess. Maybe, I don't know, man. Me and Brendan were talking about it. We wanted to ask you first thing, your name, Crypto Coffee. Where did that come from? It's definitely unique, Crypto Coffee. But if you want to maybe touch upon that a bit.
Yeah, so I used to run an online e-commerce store. It was one of my many failed businesses, and I tried my hand at everything. Social media marketing, web design, freelance, obviously the 9 to 5 grind, and then I at one point thought it would be a good idea to sell coffee on the internet for in exchange for cryptocurrency. Turned out it was a fucking terrible idea. It was so stupid. Like nobody wants to spend their money on or their crypto on physical goods and services. They want to save that shit. So I quickly learned that I'd be better off just using a normal payment processor like Visa, MasterCard. But I made this whole website and everything. I went to different conferences, tried to promote it. At the end of the day, cryptocoffee.org, it pretty much broke even. And I didn't make any money, didn't really lose any money, but I figured I'd just keep the name because I still had a lot of the IP and stuff like that. So yeah, I just kept the name. It's a nice alliteration. Crypto Coffee rolls off the tongue, and I just figured why not just reuse my whatever small following I already had, and then just rolled it into the new one. And that was right in December 2019 when Hex was coming out. So yeah, I always thought one day I would change it, but I just kind of
no, man. It's definitely a nice name, man. 100%. It's very unique.
Yeah.
And
so how'd you end up stumbling upon Hex?
Oh man, I'd been following Richard for 2 years before, maybe even 3 years. Like some of his earliest YouTube videos.
Really?
Back when he was a Bitcoin maximalist. Yeah. I've been in the crypto game since 2015. I've tried everything, lost money in every single possible way. I know it doesn't work, right? I know that trading sucks, and I know that everything altcoins, shitcoins will mostly get you wrecked. And Richard was like the one guy to kind of condense all that information into like really, really helpful 1 or 2 hour streams. And back in the day, he was spitting out great knowledge that everybody I thought should have to hear. And when he said he was making a coin, I knew I had to get in on it. Whatever it was about to be. At one point, it was going to be called CFD token. I don't know if you guys were around for this computational fluid dynamics token. He wanted to make a useful proof of work. So even back in the day, before Hex, it was actually called Bitcoin Hex. Before Bitcoin Hex, it was called CFD token. Richard had always had this idea that proof of work sucks. It's old. It's wasteful. But what if we could reroute all that energy that's being consumed for something useful, like computational fluid dynamics? So in order to run fluid dynamics computations, it takes a lot of processing power. And so his thought was, what if we make a coin where you can get rewarded to sacrifice some of your computer's energy or processing power for these really hard math problems that pretty much are only used in like the physics and math community at like universities and academia. But that was too hard and addressed too small of a market. So then he figured, why not just address what everybody's really here for, which is to make money? And what if we can make a coin? Store of value is obviously something that crypto can do. We've seen that with Bitcoin. What if we can design a coin to actually just pump and be a better store of value than Bitcoin? So he's very shameless and very open about the concept of Hex from the very beginning. And it was something I could get behind because he was the only guy in the space that was just no bullshit, straight shooter. Like everybody likes to cover up the fact that we're just here to get rich with all this technical complexity and all this novelty of, ooh, my coin does this or that. It doesn't really matter as long as nobody's using it. And why do people want to use a coin? Because they think it's going to go up in price. So it's this chicken and egg problem where people aren't going to buy the coin just because it does something technically innovative and cool. It also has to have a value proposition and price appreciation. So it was going to be Bitcoin hacks, and then a lot of people got mad at Richard for using the word Bitcoin and trying to co-opt the Bitcoin name. So he's like, fine, I don't even want to be like Bitcoin. Bitcoin kind of sucks anyway. Let's drop that. Let's just call it Hex. And so then it became Hex, probably 2018, about a year before launch. And we were kind of in the chat rooms. I remember back in the early Telegram chat, there were only like less than 1,000 of us, and we were talking about the different design parameters that might go into Hex. And it was really, it was a really smart community. It still is, right? But the bigger your community gets, the more different directions we all diverge in. Especially now with Pulse Chain, everybody's got their own project and everything. And it's just blown up into so much more than I could have ever imagined. So, but I was there from the start, and I was just interested in like Richard Hart's philosophy, his stance on, various things in life, his business tips. I actually discovered him with like going down the rabbit hole of different business tips of how to make money online, stuff like that. And then he lured me in with all of his crypto knowledge.
Wow, man, that's actually pretty.
Yeah.
I guess you've witnessed it way. So that's what we always kind of discuss this on the channel as well, because a big part of what Hex is all about, I think, was also the following that Richard has, and it's not a coincidence. I think he has not only has a lot of charisma. Not only he has a lot of knowledge, but the biggest thing with crypto right now that we are still missing to this day is the transfer, how we can communicate that technical knowledge to a primarily non-technical audience and explain to them where the value proposition is. And I think out of everybody we know, we got the Charles Hoskinsons, we got the Vitalik Buterins, we got all of these guys that are extremely intelligent and smart, but none of them bridge that gap to the average Joe like us, right? And I think that Richard Hart does a great job transferring that kind of knowledge, and I think people found a lot of value within that. And now when you're following some guy for the past 2 years, telling you or giving you all this alpha, all this information. Now all of a sudden they're working on a coin. The credibility behind that coin is already built in within that person, and
Yes.
That's where I guess majority of the market is at right now. The majority of the community, Richard plays a big role in the growth of this whole thing.
Yeah, he established his rapport with the audience years before he even launched Hex. When people knew, liked, and trusted him, way before he launched a coin. And so, yeah, he was giving away, like you said, free alpha, but it's not just about the founder, right? It's about the community as well. There is literally zero other community in all of crypto even Bitcoin in its early days was nothing like Hex is today. So you mentioned boiling down ideas so that the layman can understand them. And it's not only Richard doing that, it's you guys, it's myself, it's probably 50 other channels that are all taking their own approach at explaining things in a way that they understand it through the lens that they view things, and trying to convey the message to different people. And because we have all these people and we're not going anywhere, look, we're by social metrics, we're at an all-time high right now. We're by every metric, by users, by stake length, Hex is at an all-time high. Yeah. The only thing we're at an all-time low, or not relative low, is the price, right? So if you see things diverging and social's going up and price is going down, that's called an opportunity. And like, these people aren't going anywhere. No matter what, no matter where you come from, or blue collar, white collar, whatever country you're from, there's going to be somebody for you. If you live in Japan, I just saw a video in Japanese the other day about how to stake. It's just crazy. There's so many people everywhere, and it's just only getting bigger and bigger. So to me, it looks unstoppable. It's like, if you really look under the hood and you look past those couple of Bitcoin haters with nothing better to do because they hate their life because they only made a 2x, and they're never going to make the life-changing money. We're converting some portion of those haters, and the population is so much bigger in the outside world that a lot of us are just focused on converting no coiners as well, which is really the important thing. Because let's be honest, we're in such an echo chamber, and it's one big circle jerk sometimes, and we need to realize that probably 95% of the world is not even in crypto yet, let alone it has even heard about Hex out of crypto. If they've heard about crypto, they've heard about Bitcoin maybe, and then they're like, oh yeah, I got into that, I bought $50 and I got scared, and I don't know. But we're really taking the time to educate these people with hours-long live streams content, or 15-minute evergreen tutorial videos. These things are going to be on the internet forever, and there's more and more people popping up every day. But yeah, you guys, I would say, are probably in that top realm of really professional, people taking it seriously too. So the more the merrier, but also it's good to really care about what you're saying and focus on your image and, buy a good quality microphone, have a nice background and, make yourself easy to listen to. And it's even that much better.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%, man. And look, like from our end as well, I appreciate you saying that. Like, we're just two guys really just trying to figure out crypto, trying to figure out what works. We've had a really interesting evolution, I think, so helpful to communicate, which, when we got into crypto ourselves, when we started this channel, we began with a heavy focus on the high frequency trading side of things, technical analysis side of things. And as we've kind of, grown to learn what works and what doesn't work, I've slowly come to evolve to focus, almost entirely in terms of long-term investing, because that's simply where the growth is. You cannot outperform, Ethereum's 14,000x, Bitcoin's, I don't know how many tens of thousands of X day trading. You just can't. You cannot outperform Hex's 10,000x day trading. And when you do high frequency trading, you're exposing yourself to so much risk so often, so much randomness that risk manifests itself. And I mean, me and Messi know this very well, because we did high frequency trading. We're very, very familiar with risk.
The amount of sleepless nights, man.
Yeah, we're very familiar with risk.
Real.
And it's just I've come to understand for myself that long-term investing seems to me like such a superior strategy, where you're exposing yourself to so much less of that short-term volatility, short-term randomness, and also the benefit of what that long-term upside gives you as well. So communicating a lot of those lessons has been kind of an ongoing challenge as well. But I kind of want to ask you, what have you found to be one of the biggest lessons learned from your experience in your time being in crypto?
Well, that's part of it. It's really just the mindset. Patience. Trading sucks. Flip the script on yourself. When you're feeling fear in the market, you got to buy when others are fearful and be greedy when others are fearful. And it takes a really long time to actually do that in practice. It's easy to say. It's easy to say, oh yeah, buy low, sell high. But prices are low and you have that scarcity mindset. You need to shift to an abundance mindset. See, people think like time is abundant and money is scarce. It's actually the opposite. Money is abundant. It's never been easier to get rich in this world. With the internet now, there's so many options of ways to make money. It's just that time and attention are really the scarce resource. So, I mean, time and attention to me are like one and the same, right? Because there's everybody on the internet fighting for your attention. And if you're not focused on just the grand vision, the greater scheme of things, like holding something for many, many years is not something people want to hear. So the message I totally agree with you guys. And there is a space for people like Benjamin Cohen, and some people really have short attention spans, and they just want to look at a chart every day and say, oh, is it going to go up today? Is it going to go down today? What's the man on YouTube going to tell me? And I think we can have some people like that. We've got people like Gerardo and Dixon Piper that look at charts, but those are kind of a Trojan horse, right? Because they're looking at charts, but they're also explaining like, hey, I'm only looking at these charts for my long-term entry point or my long-term take profit points. Like, I'm looking on a weekly, monthly timescale, and I'm patient. I don't have to react to a negative 15% dip in one day. That doesn't have to bother me at all, because I know my dollar cost average points are like 10 cents, 8 cents, 5 cents. And that's a much better, I mean, if you want to consider that half the world has such a short attention span that all they want to do is be day traders, they might get sucked into a video like that and then realize, oh, okay, well, trading and investing are not the same thing at all. And so we're hoping to convert people's way of thinking from just short-term to long-term mindset, from scarcity to abundance thinking. It's hard when the culture of social media and everything going on is just so fear-based, and it's so people just want to trigger other people. They want to get that emotional reaction because that's what drives revenue. But I think that when you have an actual good product, like a beautiful product like Hex, it speaks for itself. I mean, it doesn't need that loud marketing, that loud scammy marketing, even though we did a lot of that in the beginning, right? We said, oh, Hex is, the coin for financial freedom, potential to do 10,000x. That was because crypto was addicted to that kind of marketing. And we're slowly trying to wean them off and kind of like grow them up from like, teenagers to like adults, basically. It's kind of like that thing.
Do you think that kind of marketing ultimately hurt Hex? Because, Hex does have some baggage with a lot of these influencers that kind of just have like a surface level understanding of what's going on. Or do you think that that kind of marketing was ultimately necessary to try and save the people who would have fallen for kind of scamming marketing and rug pulls otherwise? And it's ultimately like a growing pain that we'll get past. How do you view that kind of early marketing?
Yeah, that was the narrative that Richard was trying to explain, right? He's trying to say, hey, look, if people are going to get scammed anyway, then let's use the same language that a scam might use, but giving them a wholesome product, right? And some people agree with that, some people don't. Regardless of what happened, everybody has heard about hacks. Everybody and their mother has heard about hacks. I mean, not literally, but it's just you're much more likely to hear about it, good or bad, with that kind of outrage marketing or with that controversy. And that controversy was very intentional from the Richard Hart side. I never it's not to say I agree with it or I don't agree with it. It is what it is, right? We can't change
It's a
the past.
strategy. Yeah.
I think we just don't know. That's the thing. I think I think what Richard's trying to do now. You're seeing him trying to go on, different podcasts, Playboy models. At one point, we're seeing that even the community is trying to, Daytona, so many different things, logos, cars, Lamborghinis, and all that stuff. I think that's because the biggest target audience, in my opinion, within crypto is literally young adults, between 20 to 30, maybe 35. That's the target audience that's most susceptible to a new idea, a new investment opportunity. If I'm talking to my father about Bitcoin or Hex or whatever, we're into, to him, that doesn't make any sense to get into something like that. They don't see the technology, they don't understand it. But this outrage kind of marketing, I think, is gonna bring. It's important. I think it's a double-edged sword. It's gonna bring in new people. It's the most, I guess, effective. Only bringing a quick, onboard people quick, but maybe not necessarily the target audience that we need for a long-term view. They're gonna come in seeing the Lamborghinis, seeing the Playboy models, seeing the cars, seeing the jewelry and all that, and they're probably gonna think that they're gonna get that within tomorrow or overnight. So they might not be. I don't know. We saw 2 days ago, or actually like a week ago, we saw someone staked 55,000 hex for 5555 days, and then took it off the next day. I hope it was actually some sort of a mistake, but maybe there's a lot of I think that kind of outrage marketing. And I could be wrong, by the way, so I'm not really hung up on anything here, but it could be bringing people that that don't really understand that long-term mentality, and it could be affecting the current, I guess, price or whatever the case might be. But again, if you're looking long-term, that's probably
I think it's different strokes for different folks. I mean, it's basically everybody's going to have a narrative meme that they fall for. Some people are going to like the Rolexes and the watches, but in terms of target demographic, I don't think we should exclude any age group. I mean, the older, the 45 to 60 year olds or 70 plus, they're the ones with all the money too. So you want some people over there like the Hex Investment Trust guys. They're going after targeting folks around their age. And those are the guys with millions of dollars that can actually move the price up and down. And then I agree, the outrage marketing, look at Logan Paul, right? He's very popular on TikTok with those 24 to 35 year olds. And so maybe that's what Richard's trying to bring in new money from that group. Regardless, 90% of the world is conditioned to be poor. And so regardless of whether or not we get a lot of hate or love from that outrage marketing or from any of the different tactics, it could be like my level-headed tactics. It could be the technical analysis route. It could be the high net worth individuals route. People can convert whatever narrative meme subset of people they want to. But at the end of the day, it's really just only some portion of those people are going to convert to the lifestyle, the long-term holding mentality that's underlying the entire premise of Hex and Pulse Chain.
Definitely. And what I think is a very interesting idea here as well. I think a lot of this double-sided sword kind of speak when it comes to the way Hex is advertised, the way Richard talks about these things, even when some of the negative implications of being outrageous do manifest itself and some people get turned off. I think that's ultimately a net benefit because you gotta. The way I look at it is think about when Bitcoin first came out. Everyone was outraged by the idea of Bitcoin, the fundamentals of Bitcoin. Some digital asset is going to have some kind of intrinsic value. People were outraged by that kind of idea. But the people that looked past the surface level, that did a bit of research, that looked into kind of the fundamentals and realized what that truly was, it's those people who benefited greatly from the majority allowing their outrage to kind of lead them astray from what this really is, because the outraged marketing, that's all surface level. What's the smart contract? What's the fundamental intrinsic quality here? That's all actually sound. And so like whenever I see that outrage manifest and people getting turned off with like these other crypto YouTubers, in my opinion, I'm like, oh, thank God this is alpha. Like, thank God for letting me get in early, because 5 years from now, you're going to love this shit.
Exactly. Just like you said, it's as long as you have a good product, it doesn't matter. You know, like that's how we probably should look at it. As long as you read the code, do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? Do you think this has longevity or it doesn't? And as soon as you kind of, set those guidelines for yourself, anything after that, new people coming in, sure, no problem. Still not gonna affect the code. It's not gonna affect the blockchain. It's not gonna affect what we're trying to build here. So I don't know. There's a lot of drama in the Hex community, man. That's what we always talk about here. There's so much drama. I think people should look past all these things. We've been having people fighting. We've been having people, just kind of deviate away from the positive here. But I guess that's what we're trying to do. And I know you had a couple things to say about that as well.
Well, yeah, just focus on yourself, guys. People, I see a lot of infighting in the community. And that's what I don't like. It's fine if we want to make, the haters are the real enemy here. Okay. The people that are hating on Hex, that's fine, because it gives us something to strive for, right? It gives us an adversary, and that can be very, very useful in making a community bonded together. But when I see people fighting within the community, just because they have nothing better to do, it's like, turn off the damn computer, get off of Twitter, go for a fucking walk outside, and just think about onboarding new people. What value can you add, right, to your life? You're going to notice that your mental health is way better. And a lot of this infighting really does not matter in the long run. I've seen it over and over again. Every bear market, the trolls come out of the woodwork, the mentally unstable ones. They don't have anything better to do. They put way too much. They obviously invested more than they were willing to lose. They put way too much of their value, of their self-worth, in the price of a coin, right? That if that's going to keep you up at night, if you're going to not be able to sleep because you're worried that Hex is going to go down or up in price, crypto's not for you. I would just say get out altogether. Come back when you're ready to invest responsibly. But like you said, this is a really early opportunity right now. When you really realize what you have, it's called information asymmetry. So the best time to buy Bitcoin was obviously when it was $1 or $30, and everybody was calling it a scam. Can you imagine like what people were saying on Twitter when Bitcoin fell from $30 to $2? Everybody was, see, I told you so. Like, they were all just waiting for that moment, the vindication where they could pretend like they were right. $2 was the best time to buy Bitcoin. So because we have information and the truth on our side, it's really easy for us to see that, hey, this is not going anywhere. This is actually an opportunity, and we really are early. Like, a lot of people that don't like Hex at 10 cents are going to love it at $10, because a lot of people just need that time. They just need time for things to establish themselves. And when something is new and it hasn't really had a proven track record of time, like an institution is never going to buy Hex because it's only 2.5 years old. But wait until it's the test of time. Yeah, I mean, that's 5 or 6 years from now, when they're ready to buy, it'll be kind of too late for retail at that point. But Hex will be like, $100, and we'll all be, filthy rich, and it's not going to matter anymore. But that's why I'm so focused on getting in like now. This is a retail friendly game, and we have the information. We have the truth on our side. We know that it's just a piece of code. You don't have to care what Richard Hart does, or if he talks about his dick all day. It doesn't matter at all, because that's all going to come and go. And when the prices are up, you're going to see a lot less infighting, and people are going to say, oh yeah, Richard Hart was such a genius talking about his dick all the time. But now because prices are down, it's just whatever narrative. It's called recency bias, right? They'll just attach whatever is currently happening in the community to the reason why the price is up or down. And
people just want to find some sort of reason for the dip, man. That's what it is. That's how we're wired. We wanna explain things. We want to find patterns. We want to see why it makes sense, why it probably doesn't make sense. But maybe, man, within all of that, what are you excited about most now? With everything going on, with the launch coming up, with Pulse Chain, with Pulse X, what's happening? What do you think is going on?
Oh man, I mean, there's a lot going on, but it's all behind the scenes. You can go look up the GitLab. I mean, there's progress being made on Pulse Chain every day. I'm expecting, well, no expectations, right, and all that, but June, sounds like the most reasonable time. Now, is that going to be the first week of June or the last week of June? I don't know. In the grand scheme of things, I'm so used to having patience and waiting long term. The actual launch date doesn't matter much to me. I've sacrificed, but hey, if anything, look at this as an opportunity to if you work at a job, you could save some more money to go buy a pulse chain launch. Like the closer we can get to launching at the bottom of the bear market, the better. So I'm welcoming this delay because I think we might have a little bit lower to go in terms of the macro level. And if we can launch at the bottom, then the only way to go is up. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of, it's really just a lot of people with nothing better to do right now because there's no new update. Like you might've been noticing, I haven't made a lot of tutorial videos lately because I've already made all those and I'm going to remake them when Pulse Chain goes out. Yeah. But in this little period of limbo, it's like, is there really much value for me to add in that space? I'm just going to try to spread the word about the product in general. I mean, because there's nothing really new under the hood. It's being worked on and you want it to be as perfect as it possibly can be. I mean, there's so many eyeballs on Richard right now. If there's even any 1 or 2 little bugs in the code, even if they get fixed, he gets
scam confirmed.
He gets 10 times more heat than anybody else would just because of the way that he's carrying himself and bragging and stuff like that. Like Charles Hoskinson, if he made a little mistake, nobody would even notice. But that's because he's not a good leader, right? So you need this to be perfect, and you need to have the patience because you want a product that speaks for itself.
Right. Yeah, and you know what I find so funny? The amount of benefit of the doubt that Terra Luna is receiving from all these large influencers. And then when it comes,
sad. It's like I read a tweet that was like what was it? Bernie Madoff lost people $60 billion. He got a life sentence in prison. Do Kwon lost people $60 billion. He gets bailed out with Luna 2.0. And everybody's give him another chance. It's like, do you realize how much money that he lost? The whole fucking world. I mean, people like big investors like Novogratz too, but really what I think it is VC. It's obviously VC money that wants to cash out on the plebs. So they need another 2.0. Yeah.
Otherwise, the money's fully gone. No, we need to give this another chance. Obviously, we got to recoup some of that capital, man. But and so I get there's obviously a lot of conspiracies on Twitter with what's happening with the delays and all that. Some people are saying, hey, no, we're still working on the code. Other people are saying, no, he's just trying to time the market. So I guess you're basically you have no problems with the delay. You have no problems with even taking more time just to see because that's our theory here. We're saying that we do think that Richard's trying to time, not time basically, we know no one can time the market, but kind of get a sense of a bottom within the market. And then when fear has been exhausted, when people are gonna start coming back into the ecosystem, we're start seeing Google trends going back up for crypto. All these metrics have to kind of align with everything, with all the marketing he's been doing on the side, trying to tap into new markets, new target audiences and all that. I'm assuming from your end, you're thinking that, hey, this looks like code is done. We got some bugs to work on. Looks like that the market is not really bottomed out yet. Looks like we still got time to still work out on some bugs within that. All right, let's just wait for a bit.
Yeah. I don't think there's any huge conspiracy theory of him trying to time the exact bottom, but I can see where maybe his developers were like, hey, Richard, look, we've got some trade-offs we can do. We can make the code better or we can launch faster. And he probably, because of the market conditions, we know he wants that 11K Bitcoin. So if he had that conversation with the developers, I'm imagining that he would have chosen, you know what, just make the code better. It's okay if we wait another month. Even though probably we could launch it today, probably. It was my guess. I mean, look at the testnet. It's been working fine, flawlessly for almost a year. And so at least 6 months, but privately for about a year. And go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm gonna be end up being not so surprised if Mr. I'm not trying to time the bottom of the market ends up launching this thing next time Bitcoin takes a massive dip.
He wants that 11K. Yeah, I mean that would really shake, because if we went to 11K, that would be the only time in Bitcoin's history where we've had a bear market that dips lower than the tip of the previous bull market. And so that would really freak out, and that would shake a lot of people's faith in Bitcoin. I think that'd be like the final nail in the coffin for Bitcoin to me. And like, look, you guys have to wake up now. You have to admit that there's better stuff out there now.
Yeah, the thing that did a what is it, like a 2-3x small time highs and dipped 85%. Like these guys, these Bitcoin maximalists, they have no sense of irony. I mean, they're even now flipping the script where now Bitcoin maximalists are talking about how price doesn't matter. That was one of the most surprising new narratives that I found that they're now using to defend Bitcoin. I remember Richard had a conversation with some Bitcoin maximalists, I think a month or so back, and one of their biggest arguments was, "Oh, we don't care about the price of Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin doesn't matter."
It's so
I
fucking
gotta feed the
stupid.
kids, man. What are you talking about?
Price
That
is
was a
literally
great.
the only reason you're here. Like it's the whole reason people buy this shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
the financial revolution overthrowing the Federal Reserve. That's a nice side effect of people getting rich from this internet Ponzi scheme. So like
Right.
it just happens to be both in one.
Yeah.
100%. Man, what do you think about the market? The traditional market right now. What's happening? And my camera's out. 1 second here. What's happening within, outside with all the different developments in the S&P and the Nasdaq and inflation and all the fears happening of market collapse. World War III's, is knocking on our doors. Shortages, baby formulas. Is that ever gonna start affecting the market? Do we need to start including that into our equation when we analyze these markets?
I mean, look, the news media does not make money on sending you puppy videos and cat videos. Like they make money on your fear because your visceral reaction to fear is stronger than your reaction to pleasure. Because we were wired that way from a long time ago. Now, it's always going to seem like the world's ending if you watch the news, but there are some important things going on. Like the war in Ukraine, Russia is a legitimate thing that is causing some uncertainty with economic sanctions. The reality is that wars these days are fought more so with money and sanctions, and we're all fighting for that global reserve currency rather than, obviously there's still boots on the ground, but it's not exactly the same as, even 50 or
Back in the
60
day.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but then the real important thing to know is that out of control inflation is what's getting us into this mess. And I think based off what we've heard from the Federal Reserve, they still plan on raising the interest rates at least one more time. And so that's why I still see a couple more months of downside at least. But as soon as we can start printing a little more money again, or as sad as it is, like they've dug themselves a hole that's too deep to dig themselves out of. But I think they need to let a little bit of air out of the tires, so to speak. So they're going to let the economy crash a little bit. They're going to shamelessly raise inflation rates. And everybody's kind of, even if you look at people like Yellen and some of the Fed chairmen and chairwomen, they're basically saying, yo, there's going to be a recession. Like, just get ready for it. And so they're trying to prepare people for it. And hopefully it's not that bad. But, a recession in the S&P 500, that's technically only like a 20 or 30% drop. And that freaks people out in the traditional market, right? So what are we at right now? The SPY it's currently at negative 14% from the highs. So maybe we dip, to another 5 or 6% in the S&P 500, maybe another 10% over the next, over the summer. I think we might be in for a rough summer, but everything comes back, guys. Like the human beings, like our imagination is basically too big to fail. Like we can't, we're not going to let our economies collapse. And so
Bro, you're too positive, man. I love it.
I've seen this shit before. It's always doom and gloom, and then right
100%.
before
It's always like that, man. It's
things get
always
way
doom and
better.
gloom. Then it starts to go back up, after a couple of months. Then it drops again. But I think that's something we definitely, obviously, within crypto, the cycles obviously are a lot more exaggerated. But again, the amount of money, I guess, like a 13% dip on an S&P, we're talking about what, like hundreds of billions or something. So obviously, it's like that distance traveled and the money invested is gonna spook. And I think that's something we do talk about here. The people need to start paying attention, just because crypto got so a lot gained a lot more acceptance and adoption within the traditional market now, with institutions owning a lot of Bitcoin and institutions owning a lot of Ethereum. They're gonna just because it's on their balance sheets, they're gonna start treating it like any other investment, right? So
They
we're gonna
treat it
start
like a
seeing
tech
them
stock. Yeah.
100%, man. We're gonna see them aggressively trying to dump some markets. JP Morgan, now they're playing with Bitcoin. It's a playground to them, that's what it is. But it's definitely something
right.
that people need to be paying attention to.
As well,
dude, that's the red pill view, man. Like they've all got Bitcoin now. What do you think they're gonna do? They're not gonna talk shit about their own bags,
Of course,
it's gonna pump again, guys. It's gonna pump again.
Yeah. And guys, markets are cyclical. We cannot exist in any one extreme forever. We're just coming off from a period of extreme euphoria where Bitcoin went from $3,500 to $69,000. We got overbought. We got euphoric. What happens whenever we get overbought and we get euphoric? We go oversold and we get depressed. and we rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And then, man, even Richard says it himself. Like I saw a clip of this the other day. Bear markets typically last 50 weeks, a year, just over a year. And then we start approaching the next Bitcoin halving. Market sentiment starts to pick up. Buy pressure starts to pick up. The supply shock of Bitcoin that affects the rest of the market. Guys, this shit is cyclical. Bear markets last a year and a half. We're 2/3 of the way into this thing, folks. Like get your dry powder ready.
Hyped up. He's getting hyped up right now. Just talking.
Yeah. Well, it depends what top you want to measure from, right? But if you measure from the 65K top, then we're over half a year. If you measure from the 69K top, we're about 6-7 months. So maybe 5 more months at the most.
100%.
Yeah. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. You get your ticket now for the next bull run, and then you want to have a seat at the table because you don't want to be the one buying the top, right? That's what happened in the last Hex pump. So basically what happens in every pump, especially with Hex, is so many people get in, and then a new wave of buyers piles in just because they've seen the price go up so much. Now, of these new people that buy, some fraction of them becomes a long-term staker. But the more the price goes up, the higher the ratio of real stakers and real, Hex OGs and people that understand it to the ratio of all the speculators that just piled on afterwards. And so because we ran up so high, that's why we're having such a huge shakeout, because there's always going to be stakers of last resort holding up the price. But we went up so high so fast that a lot of people didn't realize what they were buying. And so we just need to shake all these people out. I kind of feel like we have already. I kind of feel like a lot of these
93%.
Yeah, which is great. Like, can we bull market, please? Now? Like, let's hurry up. Let's go.
And look, man, these are all pretty valuable questions, and thank you for sharing all that knowledge. Definitely, this is going to be very valuable for the viewers. But man, look, we got to get to the very tough questions here. I think people are asking that on every single video we put out. Is it Pulse Chain or PulseX, man? Where are people gonna make the most money?
Well, if you want to make a clickbait YouTube video, just make that one. Hey, which one does better?
Pulse Chain or
clip right here, man. I got my notepad on.
Look, guys,
I got my whiteboard, man.
It's very simple. It's very simple. Look at every layer one. Look at every layer one in existence, right? Look at all the ones that did somewhat successful, and then look at every Uniswap copy. We have, this is not the first time we've done this. We have a precedent that's been set. We have Uniswap, we have Sushi Swap, we have Trader Joe's, we have Spooky Swap, and then we have Phantom, Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain. If you average out the returns that all of these have done, the layer ones always perform better than the applications on top, at least so far. I mean, maybe in 5 years from now, maybe the layer ones one day will pick up. So my short to midterm prediction is that Pulse Chain outperforms by like an order of magnitude more, like 10x more. But then maybe in 5 or 6 years, when volume really increases and we have billions of dollars of daily volume on PulseX, that's when the buy and burn function actually picks up for us. And that's when I can maybe see PulseX accruing even more value. But I think it's reasonable. Maybe PulseX does 100x and Pulse Chain does 1000x, right? It's going to do like an order of magnitude more. But again, in the super long term, maybe the application layer actually becomes dominant. Maybe
that's really interesting. I haven't heard a lot of people be confident in that several orders of magnitude. So let me ask you then: when Pulse Chain goes live, what are your thoughts behind kind of doing any swapping, staking, liquidity providing, accumulating more Pulse Chain, PulseX? Like, what are your kind of like week one, month one thoughts as to how you're going to approach the launch?
Yeah, I'm going to relax and not shoot myself in the foot, basically, because I know every time I try to, my trigger finger gets too happy, then I always lose money. Like I've hurt myself too many times. I'm not doing it again. So I'm not trading pre-fork at all, pre-bridge. Sorry, I'm not trading pre-bridge at all. If anything, if you want to get into Pulse Chain and you miss the sacrifice, I'm telling people buy the dip after launch. When new coins launch, there's almost always a dip of those short-term profit sellers that are happy with their little 2x or their 3x. It's fine. They can sell. They can go away. And then they can dump. And you can come in with your USDC that you've been working hard for, and you can buy that dip. You can buy that dip. And it's probably going to come at around 30 to 60 days after launch is my best guess. Obviously, it's just a guess, okay? But yeah, you're going to probably have a dip buying opportunity in both. If you try to do ratio trading before the bridge launches, you're probably going to have a bad time. And then with all my
Because you're not
coins,
getting
obviously,
like real analytics. You know, you're not before the bridge. You're not getting the proper analytics of what the market is about to decide on.
right. Well, the one thing that I think you can actually look at from the testnet that is somewhat realistic is look at the ratio of pulse to PLSX. Right now, it's going, I think, for like 4-to-1. So people are paying 4 pulse X for 1 pulse chain. Now, obviously, that's not going to be the real ratio in reality, but we are seeing the fact that people are wanting PLS more than they want their Pulse X. And that's probably because there's just so many more people that got into Pulse X because it lasted so much longer, and they missed out on Pulse Chain. It's pretty simple to me that Pulse Chain is probably going to pump initially and Pulse X is probably going to dump initially. And look, I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong and everything just goes to the moon overnight. But all these people thinking they're going to get 50x, 100x in the first month or two, they're just dead wrong.
Definitely, man. That's definitely. You do have a different view than what the majority of the market or Twitter or how we just usually see people commenting on the. A lot of people are that's like a big concern. What are we gonna do pre-bridging? Before the bridge is on, what are we gonna have? Are we gonna switch to Pulse Chain or Pulse X? In my opinion, I think there's the fact that people did not get in on Pulse Chain as much as they did on Pulse X, and also just the fact this is layer 1, is the big brother, it's the big blockchain. Pulse X is just a part of Pulse Chain, and I don't know why these people just decided to do construction today, man. Do you guys hear this, or is it
just throw some blankets up on the window? Yeah,
oh
that's
my
okay.
goodness.
Turn down your.
He's literally got a big ass truck right right in front of the window. But I do think. In my opinion, Pulse Chain is going to outperform Pulse X just because of all the utility and all these different projects that will need to own Pulse Chain. And I think that's where it's going to be at. I don't know. But layer 1, just like you said, track record for layer 1s is a lot better than automated market makers. It's as simple as that.
It's also more scarce. Clear reason why retail would be more familiar with as well. I mean, if you like I like to bring up my uncle example where I'll tell my uncle Pulse Chain, faster, cheaper Ethereum. He's like, oh, okay, I get that. And I tell him, okay, Pulse X, it's a decentralized exchange with buy and burn, and it just goes over his head. He doesn't know what he's talking about, what I'm talking about. So point is that kind of represents the retail trader, where the retail is going to go to what they understand, and they understand layer 1s. They understand faster, cheaper Ethereum. I feel like Pulse X, there's a bit of a learning curve, and so I could definitely see there being more buy pressure towards Pulse Chain.
But man, it could be Pulse sure. Doge, man. It could be Pulse.
You think Pulse Doge is the move?
That could be a big one. You don't understand, man. These guys, these meme guys, are gonna look. Oh, we got a faster, cheaper Dogecoin. We're here.
Look, man.
They're gonna do
if they're right about that, then fuck, I'll throw my hat in. I'll quit crypto. I don't want to be here anymore.
It's been years of trying to accumulate knowledge and watch videos and read books, and it just turns out to be a meme coin, man. That's what it is.
That's what Elon Musk wants.
Oh man, Elon! Like
He just opened up Dogecoin again for his SpaceX store merch store.
Oh, he's accepting. Yeah, I saw he's accepting payments now. Yeah, and I saw they had a recent thing with Binance, like a 500 million fund to not bridge, but whatever crypto projects they want to have on Twitter. They had some sort of money allocated between Binance and Twitter to work on something. So I guess that's. I think that would probably be big at one point as well, but there's been some movement on the low, man, on the market. Definitely, these guys act like it's crypto's the next, like icky thing. You should stay away from it, but they're really using it on these major platforms. So it's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I'm personally looking forward to more regulation coming in, because once the regulation, that's can be interpreted as a controversial statement, and there is a lot of nuance there. But my point is, once regulation is sorted out, it's going to make it so much more easy for legacy money to come into the space. And while some people argue whether or not legacy money is necessary or needed, in my opinion, it's just a matter of time before it comes in. And so, it's very likely gonna, pump our bags. So sooner we get that regulation out of the way, sooner Wall Street can figure out what Pulse Chain is all about.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, that is a hot take, right? We don't like regulation here, but at the same time, you want the big guys to invest in your shit eventually, right? I would be fine if they take their time. Luckily, governments, especially in America, are very, very inefficient, very slow. Probably every government's very slow, right? So if they have to wait till 2026, 2027, I'd be okay with that, because that's just the next window of opportunity that we have to keep shilling Hex. And like, I really think when the institutions get in, it's going to be too late for like the 10,000x narratives and all that. But even then, right, Hex becomes a stable store of value, and you're still making, 20, 30% APY. That's still pretty good. If Hex was a stable coin, it would still be worth holding.
100%.
And so let me ask you about that, man, because that's actually been a point of contention between me and Messin, where we like to debate ideas that are on this channel. And one thing we've been talking about recently is, can Pulse Chain really do a 10,000x? Can Pulse X really do a 10,000x? The way it's set up was very different than Hex. There was very little economic energy put into Hex initially. There's a lot more economic energy that was put into something like Pulse Chain, Pulse X. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you really think that Pulse Chain, Pulse X has that 10,000x in it? What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, it depends how many more cycles you want to speculate on. Like for the next cycle, no, probably not. Right? Maybe 100x. Maybe we go to $10. Right? That would be great. Hex goes from 10 cents to $10. That's 100x. But really long term, right? I'm talking like 2030. Look at what Bitcoin did. Bitcoin did a 10,000x, and then it did another 10,000x. It just took a really fucking long time. So if you're talking about only the next cycle, then yeah, I can see 100x potential for Hex. Obviously, that's a store of value, so you want to be making that APY as well. But then in future cycles, if Hex is sitting at $100, I know it sounds totally insane, right? But like, people thought $60,000 Bitcoin sounded insane when Bitcoin was $2, and that's just how these things work. I mean, that's just how network effects work.
Do you even think it's an important point to consider that? Because we definitely do debate, and not even debate, we fight over that, me and Brendan. The amount of is it a good point, or a point that's worth considering how much money was put in at a project early on? For example, right, the 1.4 billion. Let's just forget about the always sacrifice the Pulse X's, or just 1.4 billion from the people themselves. That 1.4 billion, if we're talking about 100x or 1000x, we're talking about that 1.4 billion at one point as value has to be, forget about market cap. We're not talking about market cap. We're just talking about these specific amounts of dollars. Would have to be somewhere within the trillions or tens of trillions of dollars. Is that something worth considering when we're talking about X's like that? Because once we start, putting in 10x, 100x, 1000x, this is not market cap, guys. Last time, man, they gave me so much shit. I just slipped up.
Because you were talking about market cap, yeah.
Yo, shut up, man.
I made your argument better
Let me talk.
Focusing
on economic energy. Can I just lie for a bit?
I can FUD better than you can. Go ahead.
I didn't mean market cap. We're talking about that 1.4 billion, man.
Right.
If we're talking about a 10x or 100x, that 1.4 billion have to be 1.4 trillion at one point, and people will have to sell that. So again, is that worth considering in your opinion, or no?
Okay, so you're just talking about early money dumping at a later point in time. Yeah, there was a lot of money raised, right? But look, this money wasn't raised to venture capitalists. Okay, venture capitalists, I call them vulture capitalists. They're the people that you really need to worry about. They're the people that don't have any really skin in the game. They're waiting for their vesting period to come up, and they're going to dump on your head. And we've seen so many coins come and go because they sold out to VCs. And that's not the way you're supposed to do crypto. You're supposed to sell it to the people that believe the most. And so I really do feel like the people that sacrifice for Pulse Chain and Pulse X have a lower chance of just dumping everything, right? A lot of these people are going to be lifelong holders. And one day there's going to be like lending protocols and ways to extract value out of the system without ever having to sell your Hex, or without ever having to sell your Pulse Chain. We're already seeing things like liquid loans being created, or like fiat.io being created. Brice is talking about market cap. Yeah, I'm going to ignore the market cap thing for now. I'm just going to talk about like early investors. Yes, there will always be centralized ownership of coins in the beginning that becomes more decentralized to new people every time a whale sells. But we're seeing, look, the same thing happened in Bitcoin, right? At first, Bitcoin was owned by one dude, and then it was like, 100 more like computer nerds got together, and then they owned all the Bitcoin. And so did they did all these guys, crash the price of Bitcoin 10 years later? No, because the amount of new demand being generated is equal or outpacing the OGs selling, right? So that's just, it's kind of this boogeyman that people don't realize. It's kind of a false flag to me. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to, as long as we're onboarding new people at an increasing rate and making a better product and better user experience to onboard those people, it's going to overpower any like original person dumping. Not to mention, the more wealthy somebody is, the less they need to sell. So once you have this feeling of abundance, once you like, I'm a whale, or not, I'm not a whale, right? But I'm a hex holder from the beginning. I'm legitimately, I'm not a whale,
guys.
But bigger.
You've been
holder,
dumping
right?
the price, man. Is that what you've been doing?
What I'm trying to
You're
say,
the guy.
It's you.
what I'm trying to say is that
It's him, guys.
I used to think that, wow, if I ever made this much gains, I would just sell it. Like, now I don't want to sell. Like, I really don't want to. I have to pay taxes on it. I'm going to take just what I need to survive and keep most of it. And maybe one day when these lending protocols come to fruition, whales have less incentive to sell because they don't need the money right away. Their time preference is long. So I don't think it's as much of a worry, right? To really worry about that in the greater scheme of things. As long as we're onboarding at a faster rate than the OGs can dump or whatever, it's kind of this mythical problem to me.
Definitely.
And there's still a lot of
Not a
open
whale.
questions as well.
We're gonna keep that up
take
there,
your word
man.
for
There
it.
you go.
Hey, if you want to think I'm a whale, go ahead, because that'll throw you guys off my tracks, because I'm actually
There
not.
you go. There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. Okay. But there's a lot of like interesting unknown questions here, because a large part of what will determine this is the liquidity, right? Like, we just don't know what the liquidity situation is going to be like for Pulse Chain, PulseX. That'll be a big part as well. We also don't know, and this is something that's been bugging me a lot recently. So if at Crypto Coffee, if you get the chance to talk to Rich before we do, you got to ask him this question. And it bugs me so much that no one is asking this question, such an obvious question. The incentive token tokenomics. We don't know anything about that, and it massively affects the value proposition of PulseX here, right? Because depending, how much interest you can earn, the tokenomics of that coin, whether there's any kind of value, will massively determine the value proposition.
Yeah. That's a weird.
So what do you know, man? And what do you have information about that? Let's just spill it out.
Oh, bro, I just I know as much as everybody else, man. I don't have this secret cabal of people where I'm like, oh, incentive, but I don't see incentive token being like a long-term hold. Like, I don't know why I'd want to hold it. I feel like it doesn't have the same fundamentals as everything else, but as we've seen in the past, people are going to trade something just because it exists and just because it's inflationary and hard to get, because you have to mine it by basically providing liquidity. You have to mint new INC coins by being a liquidity provider. So that's going to mean that it's going to be a coin held by a lot of whales probably. So maybe these whales will decide to not sell the coin and to maybe try to generate some demand for it. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. If I'm selling INC token, I'm not going to pretend like I'm buying it if I'm actually dumping it. But I do think it's important to abstract away the PulseX and the INC token, because with PancakeSwap, it's the same token, right? The same token you get for being an LP provider is the same token that you get for the buy and burn function as well. But because we have those two coins differentiated, we can have PulseX have all the fundamentals, all the value prop, and then I guess sell pressure goes to INC token. I mean, the buy pressure really just comes from being a new coin. I mean, people buy shit that I don't think has any value. I've been proven wrong on Dogecoin, so I can be proven wrong on INC token too.
What if the INC token is meant to grow in value with regards to PulseX? So let's say you lock up your PulseX, you stake it or commit to 4 months, 12 months, or 4 years, and what?
There's been nothing to make us think that there'll be a lockup period.
No, that's right. We don't know anything, so we're speculating.
Yeah, we don't
That's
know
what I'm
anything.
asking. Like, if it's supposed to grow in
but there is a
value,
test
some
net.
of these-
There was a test net in a single sided staking pool with no lockup period.
I don't think there's a lockup period. What I would like to see from INC token that would actually give it a usefulness to hold would be just additional voting power in the voting contract. I think that might be an easy. Yeah, the governance, right? So right now, PulseX is the main governance token, but I would like to see maybe special voting privileges for INC holders, and maybe that can be forked in at a later time. There's a lot you maybe could do with INC token, but I I'm just as blind as you are to like behind the scenes there. I don't have any insider info. I wish I did.
And guys,
Go
we don't
check
even
Richard
know if it's
Carey
called
attention.
INC token. I think, was it you, Brendan, that came up with the name INC? I don't think we saw
No,
anywhere that
no.
says incentive token.
I was lobbying for internet shickle coin. Shickle.
Shake it. I see.
Shickle? I even forget. Anyways, my lobbying efforts were ineffective.
It's all good.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah.
good, man. It's all good.
Well, people are talking about PRT token all the time, and I want to make this very clear, guys. That does not stand for Pulse Chain Reward Token. It's just a placeholder. It's literally I've asked the developers, and I've seen their response. Like, PRT is just to test out the staking function for PulseX. Sorry, I hate to burst everyone's bubble. It's not going to be a real coin.
You just popped the bubble, man. Just popped
Sorry,
the bubble.
guys.
Guys, if you guys have any other questions, let us know in the comment section, or the chat. We'll definitely try to get Crypto Coffee to answer it. We know he's a whale. We know he got more information than the rest of us, and we're trying to get more info off of the guy. So, appreciate you bringing up any kind of conspiracy theories you can bring up, anything to kind of shake this guy out. But man, thank you so much. There's so much you shared today, man. I think the people need it, man. There's so much drama in the community, so much negativity. We just need a bit of a level-headed approach to everything, and I think you definitely did provide that today.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's really fun to be on this channel. And yeah, guys, we're on the same fucking team. Please stop fighting. The enemy is the haters, okay? Go fuck. If you're really bored on Twitter and you want to, get into some Twitter argument, at least make sure it's with fucking Peter McCormick or something. Not like your own friends. These are your people. This is your tribe that like we're the cult of getting rich, right? It's like, yeah, it's funny. It's funny to joke about, but like this is really, we want financial freedom for everybody. So I think we all want the same thing deep down.
100%. I think, man, wasn't Richard looking for a cut? Like he was just trying to ask if, like, how would you start a country on an island or whatever the case might be.
Are you moving to the Hex?
I don't know. I'm asking you guys, man. Would you guys move if he's on the throne and we're on an island somewhere and
it depends. If it's all dudes, then I'm out. If there's a good ratio,
yeah, that's a good approach. That's the checklist.
Oh man, hey, you going to PulseCon?
Yeah, I'll be at PulseCon.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, I might actually be speaking. I have to decide. Actually, I need to check my calendar on that, but I think I will be at PulseCon.
There you go, man. Maybe one last question that I saw even in the comments and the chats there, which I think that's definitely something now we need to add to the equation: P-Hex versus E-Hex. How would P-Hex, a faster, cheaper hex, going to affect E-Hex in terms of maybe fundamentals, in terms of incentive? And so are people, would you ever see people now holding E-Hex, as opposed to P-Hex? Or in terms of price, how does that affect anything? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I think there's going to be a dump in E-Hex on the short term, but then I think that the OA could do some things where like it either sets a price floor on E-Hex, or hopefully it does both of these things. Sets a price floor on E-Hex, let's say at like 1 penny or maybe half a penny, and then adds a shit ton of liquidity over on the P-Hex E-Hex pair on PulseX. And then that would lock their price movements in tandem with each other. Obviously, I think P-Hex is going to be at a much higher valuation than E-Hex. But I think that one day, maybe 2 or 3 years from now, when the dust settles and everybody, price discovery happens, I think people might still be trading E-Hex just because the same premise, it's the same thesis as the INC token. A coin doesn't have to have a use case for people to trade it back and forth. Dogecoin or Shiba, whatever. All it needs is a community and people to buy and sell and traders to buy and sell. So I'm staked out 15 years, right? So I'm not going to be emergency unstaking my E-Hex. That would just be stupid to me because I really do think it might have some value in the next couple of years. Even if the value is 10 times lower than P-Hex, it's still free money, right? So why would I end my stakes early? Why would I give up on E-Hex? I think it's going to be around. It's probably just not going to be as popular as P-Hex.
Do you think it's going to thin out the market at least? Like now we have double the supply?
No,
like people have a choice now between the two.
Right. We have double the supply, but now we have double the place to buy as well. So we have like different onboarding routes. The people that are stuck on Ethereum can figure out how to get over to Pulse Chain. Mm-hmm. And I think you can easily pull liquidity and add liquidity. So even though the supply is doubled, if there's very thin liquidity over on the E-Hex pair, I think you can still make a case for long-term, maybe slow growth of EHEX. I'm not ready to give up on it, basically, but I'm optimistic.
Also, so something curious. I just thought of this just now. I mean, isn't there some kind of rationale for even if 90% of hex buy pressure moving forward went purely to p hex? I mean, these are correlated assets. They're psychologically correlated. They're going to be correlated in liquidity pairs. There's going to be arbitrage opportunities. This is an open question. I'm just thinking out loud here. But is there not some kind of rationale for even if a majority of buy pressure moving forward always went to p hex, there's still some kind of correlation between EHEX and PX here, right?
There's that psychological factor that you can't ignore. Even if there's no logical reason, right, for people to buy EX, the market can always stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent, right? So I've been proven wrong on this many times before in many coins. I'm like, wow, why are people buying that shit coin over there? Well, I have to admit, like, I'm wrong because Dogecoin made it to the top 10, this bull cycle. And I was wrong about Dogecoin. So it's like, yeah, you have a whole community behind Hex. It's a brand name. It's a very well-known name in the crypto space. And so you've got people associating it with PHEX. But yeah, just because of that psychological bonding, I don't think some people just might not get it. Some people might think that they're buying PHEX and they're really just still over on Ethereum. Who knows, guys? But I think they're both going to survive for a long time.
Yeah. Also, if I could add something else here as well, guys. 15 years. I get that Ethereum 2.0 is being delayed, all this stuff, scaling solutions. But, hey, the Ethereum guys got 15 years to figure out sharding, scaling. There might be some kind of world where 15 years from now, Ethereum scaling does improve, and that kind of the benefit of that does go on to the kind of EHEX side of things. So I wouldn't completely dismiss EHEX moving forward. Especially since it's the same smart contract, whales getting in the system, they don't really care so much about the fees. Like it's, I wouldn't dismiss EHEX either, guys. No, something to keep in mind. Yeah,
I agree.
Is there anything else you're interested in on the Pulse Chain side of things other than Hex, Pulse Chain, Pulse X? Are you some secret Dogecoin whale?
I've got my favorite coins. I made a live stream about it where I basically just told everybody all the coins I was going to be holding. I'm not holding them yet because they don't exist yet, but I like things that add value to what I already like. So I love Richard Hart coins, and then I also really like coins that can add value in various ways. So that's like Maxi token or Hedron or Liquid Loans or like Fiat.io. And I'm open-minded to new ideas. I mean, maybe my mind will change about some new tokens in the future, but right now it's kind of like those four. Like you've got the lending protocols, you've got Liquid Loans and Fiat, and then you've got like the Hex derivatives, which is like Maxi and Hedron. And I think there's really valid use cases for all of that stuff. What else am I interested in? Oh, Mintra. I mean, Mintra is a very, very small play for me, but because I don't care about NFTs, but I know that we do need an NFT platform, right? So I'm going to go ahead and gamble on Gerardo, and not him, actually. Like, he's not the developer.
No, he's part of the team.
Yeah. I mean, I know him and I trust him, and if it doesn't work out, it's okay. I'm comfortable with losing all that money too, but it wouldn't even be like a super long-term hold for me either. But there are certain little plays like that where I could see value coming to Pulse Chain as well.
100% interesting. All right. Well, hey, man, you got any other questions here? Any other thoughts, Messon?
I think that's
FUD you want to spread. Man. I'm sure you got a list of FUD there that you're looking to spread.
Man, I mean, like I don't know. People want to take it as FUD. I just ask critical questions, man. Sometimes they might be stupid questions, but that's what it is, man. That's how we grow, right, man? Like I think that's a pretty good way to approach things. Just ask questions, right, Brendan?
No, asking questions is horrible. If you ask a question, you are spreading FUD by definition. Yes,
concern troll. Ban him.
Yeah, outcast. You're an outcast if you ask any questions.
There we go, man. Well, you know what, man? I don't know. We're pushing an hour right now. We talked about a lot of things. Crypto Coffee, unless you got, something else to add here, we'll leave the floor for you. But
any final thoughts?
Anything you want to, talk about?
New course coming out in probably July. I'll let you guys know. Anybody that has the existing course, it's for no coiners, right? So it's not for like, probably a lot of the chat is already too smart. And then I've got some merch. So shameless plug for, I've got Tears of Hex Haters mugs. Ahead, and then I've got these non-financial advice hats, which I can't
show
find.
us your merch, man.
I might cop one of those.
Show us your merch so we can get a 20% cut.
It's actually, yeah, it's so annoying because the company that makes the print-on-demand shirts, they take like over 50% of the revenue. So
Holy
I might have to
shit.
start making them myself. Yeah, I might have to start making them myself.
Man, just put a printing machine in your garage and just do it up, man. That's what it is. Get your little brother, sister.
And they're not
Oh,
cheap,
yeah,
right?
no, but hey, whatever.
Yeah.
100%, man.
Yeah.
Well, there we have it, people. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching Crypto Coffee, the most, influential streamer within the Hex community. Thank you for coming on the show, man. Shared a lot of knowledge. Brendan, you're smirking, man. I hate it when you smirk. I feel like you got a roast coming up. Something smart. What do you want to say?
No, I'll keep to myself. I just want to
There we
say,
go.
look, Crypto Coffee, man, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, bro. Really appreciate it. Everyone, I left a link for Crypto Coffee's channel in the comments. I'll also be leaving one in the description below. Go check them out. Go like and subscribe. Everyone like and subscribe to our channel as well. I highly appreciate that. And yeah, man, appreciate your time. Thanks a lot for coming on, man.
100%.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
you.
Peace
All
out,
right, take care,
guys.
folks.